Welcome to my review of Captain America, The Winter Soldier, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, a film that follows Steve Rogers as he continues to adapt to the modern world while finding himself in a predicament when S.H.I.E.L.D. has become compromised.
They joined S.H.I.E.L.D. to protect people.
Captain, to build a better world sometimes means tearing the old one down. And that makes enemies.
Alright, so I'm going to start this review off by saying that I'm not typically the world's biggest Marvel fan. And it's not because of some stupid hatred. I could care less what companies associated with what, because I don't care. The reason I say I'm not the world's biggest Marvel fan is because typically a lot of the movies that I've seen that are associated with the company are films that I have a hard time really attaching myself or really kind of finding myself being enthralled in those movies. Typically with the Marvel films, they tend to be a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more carefree and comical for my particular taste. They're really sort of meant for the whole entire family, which is really among the many reasons I wasn't the biggest fan of the Avengers, was because everything was played out in such a comedic way to where I never really felt a sense of danger when the characters were in danger. I just didn't really care because I knew that they were going to be fine. Now, I'm not saying that comedy doesn't work in comic book films, because it depends on the character, it depends on the film, it depends on the tone or whatever. Some films, need comedy, some films don't, and I think Avengers had a little too much. Now, as for the first Captain America, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember having a really good beginning and a really good ending. The middle section was something I thought could have been a little better, again, from what I remember, but overall, it was a pretty decent film. But as for The Winter Soldier, on the other hand, I believe that it's better. First off, the fight choreography in The Winter Soldier is quite spectacular. It looks freaking awesome. Look, I'm no expert when it comes to fighting, but when punches and Captain America's shield was being thrown, you felt that shit. And I'm not even talking about the sound design, I'm talking about the visuals themselves. And since I am on the subject, I love it when a movie has a great sound design for guns, and there is a plethora of scenes that cater to just this. So if you're someone who's looking for great big budget summer blockbuster action, you are going to love this, because this is your shit. Now, I do have one problem with the action scenes, and it primarily centers around that I think the edits, the cuts, are way too quick. Instead of letting a shot kind of linger on a particular person or a particular, fight scene or whatever, it's just boom, 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 click, click, click. I mean, it's very, very quick. And I did find this to be a little bit distracting. I think if these shots were to have actually lingered a bit more, it would have made these already great scenes all the more greater. And I really like how the film deals with the theme of Big Brother. If you don't know what that is, of course the NSA. We really are living in a time where privacy is becoming something that doesn't exist. And I know that sounds ludicrous, and I know that sounds completely bonkers, but if you have a device that can connect to the internet or any kind of network whatsoever, say a computer, an iPod, an iPhone, whatever, then guess what? Whatever you're searching up is documented somewhere. And it's, like, again, that sounds ludicrous, but unfortunately, it's very much true. And just because you delete something off your search history doesn't mean it's actually gone, because guess what? It's still there. Now that I'm done being a crazed out conspiracy theorist, I do want to say one thing. I have two problems. First, I'm going to start with the smaller one. The smaller one centers around Black Widow. I think she's a fine character. However, some of her little comedic bits and her little quips, to me, they felt a little forced at times, and they were kind of distracting. Now, as for the bigger problem, I was watching a Mark Kermode review of Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and he stated that his problem with the film was that it felt as if he were watching the film rather than being involved in the film. As I was watching, I was like, I can't really put my finger on it, but there's a problem I have with this film, but I just don't know if that is. And then I thought about it, and I was like, wait a minute. That is kind of how I'm feeling right now. Although The Winter Soldier is a very long film, I never entirely felt as if I knew these characters. I always felt like I was kind of watching them through a window, so to speak. The film really does kind of jump around a lot, particularly with the Winter Soldier plotline. The movie is called Captain America, The Winter Soldier, And the Winter Soldier, he's kind of hardly in this film. He's a very interesting character, and I would have liked to have seen more of him, but unfortunately, you don't really get that. You get enough to say, okay, yeah, you saw him, but I still feel like it was a little left to be desired, if you know what I'm saying. Overall, I really did enjoy Captain America the Winter Soldier. I'm going to give it a very, very high 3.5 out of 5. The reason I'm not giving it a 4 because it's just not quite there for me, but I do think it's actually a really good film. I think it's actually one of Marvel's better films. So yeah, I think it's highly worth seeing. As always, I'm Colyn Kirkland, and thank you so much for watching.